first. I'm Jenna Wolf. He's the Hall of Famer. His name is Chris Carter. He goes by Nick Wright, and for the first time in a long time, we are all in the same place at the same time.
All right, let me check you out, Jenna. Let me just see. You got any grizzly bear marks?
No scars, no marks.
Jenna was out on Nat Geographic in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Traversing the Great West.
It was a work assignment, so
yes.
I can say.
Oh yeah, I should say that. It wasn't an extended vacation. She was on television on Nat Geographic.
It was
hanging
a great
out
time.
with grizzly bears.
I will tell you, I missed you.
She was being compensated.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Yes.
the Don Draper line.
Yeah.
Where's the thank you? That's what the money's for.
I did miss you. The only sports I talked were Eagles and Bears, and
Jenna's been sitting on that joke for 8
long
days.
time. Hey, we got a big Friday show for you this morning. Last night there were
Hashtag she's back.
but it wasn't corny. There were 12 NFL preseason games, a number of rookie debuts, but there was only one Baker. So let's start this morning with the much hyped, much anticipated preseason debut of #1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield. Browns and Giants from MetLife last night, and those Cleveland Browns appear to have themselves a preseason quarterback controversy. Starter Tyrod Taylor was solid. Backup Baker Mayfield also solid. Baker came in and tossed 2 touchdowns, going 11 of 20 for 212 yards. And Cleveland fans were oh so happy about what they saw, getting a quarterback for the first time in a very long time. CeCe, what impressed you most about Baker's debut? Saw you tweeting about it a lot last night.
Well, one thing we have to realize in trying to develop pro football players, a great debut is not typical of what happens. And especially from a quarterback, all the things that they have to be involved in. So I was impressed with a number of things. But if you start your career playing against the New York Football Giants, I played against the Giants a bunch of times, drafted by Philadelphia, just being in that stadium with that crowd in your debut, and you're used to going out there with the first unit. Oh, but you don't. Tyrod is the starter, and he starts off with a sensational, I mean, you can't start better than he started. And you have to sit there. You have to make sure you gauge your enthusiasm. You have to watch the coverages and everything. So his ability to be able to sit there as a superstar, Heisman Trophy winner, first pick in the draft, and be calm enough that he could come in and be very effective in the second and third quarter, that's the first thing. I know people won't be saying, I didn't look at that way. But that's hard to do when you're a superstar player. But the way he ran the organization, you can see that the Browns in their future, it's going to be bright with Baker Mayfield. You can see why NFL franchise didn't want people to know. But this little guy can play pro football. He can throw the football. He was not a product of the system at Oklahoma. He has the arm strength. He has the type of leadership ability that people are gravitate to him. You can see him making tough throws on third down, not being able to step in, hitting the guy deep across the middle, getting rushed out of the pocket, being able to throw deep down the sideline, right, where only the wide receiver could get the football. I was very impressed at how he played quarterback. So that right there, he understood what his limitations were. When he had bad plays, he didn't allow those plays to turn into catastrophic plays. Man, the Cleveland Browns, man, you got to be happy with their overall selection after seeing him play a little less than 2 quarters now.
I try on a show like this, where we talk every day, very often we talk about similar subjects day to day, and I try to be consistent. Yesterday, I said I wanted to see how he was getting his team in and out of the huddle. Were there delay of games? Did they look scatterbrained? Were they getting there in time? He gets check marks in the positive column on all of that. My second question was, would he cut and run too much? Meaning, when he saw a pass rush, would he simply say, I'm going to go try to get a first down with my feet, or I'm going to try to escape outside the pocket? I was so impressed with his ability in the pass rush to keep his eyes upfield and to find guys up the field. Like what you saw, we just, in that highlight package, there's a 3rd and 7 where he has a rush right at his face. He moves laterally to the basically downside of your screen, keeps his eyes upfield, stays in the pocket, hits a guy for a first down. The pass everyone will talk about today, not the touchdown to Njoku, but the one that ended up being reviewed. Now, he got outside of the pocket there, but he kept his eyes upfield instead of thinking, am I going to run? He was looking to throw, so he did cut and run a bit there, but he kept his eyes up the field to make an enormous play. Like, that really impressed me. Because we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson later in the show. I was impressed by Lamar. I thought he played well. But you also could see for him, if it gets hairy, I'm out. Like, I'm going to what I know. And I know they're different type of athletes with different strengths as far as passing the football. But even if you're trying to just nitpick, not a lot to nitpick from Baker after his preseason debut.
CeCe, you brought up patience, which is something that a lot of people watching the game last night would not have really looked for. The other thing I think I learned a lot out of you is comfort level. You know, because the game is so much faster when you're making that transition from college to the NFL. How comfortable did you feel like Baker looked in his preseason
Well, I think
debut?
that the Oklahoma staff that they currently have had Baker Mayfield more ready for the NFL than being a product of that system. So I think some of it is what they did at Oklahoma, absent of getting him snaps under center. But you got to give credit to the Cleveland Browns and their staff. Nick and I talked about it this morning, and Nick had picked it out. Man, their staff.
Todd Haley.
And how they facilitated. This is new. Hugh Jackson is used to calling plays, running the show. He surrendered that to Todd Haley, who's used to calling plays, and the overall prep, because Nick pointed out that not only Baker, but if you could just consume it looking at Baker, you'll forget how they played at quarterback. And their quarterback play was amazing.
How about Tyrod Taylor? I mean, he was the quarterback rating is an odd stat because a perfect score is 158.3. So, I mean, it doesn't sound like that should be the perfect score. Tyrod Taylor's quarterback rating, 158.3. That's what happens when you're 5 for 5, 20 yards per attempt because he threw for 99 yards. Well, I mean, listen, I thought Tyrod was an underrated player in Buffalo, but this was as sharp as I've seen him. And he was going up against Giants starters, because when you're in that first, I understand the starters didn't play long, but he was out there for the first 2 drives. What you saw from Tyrod and then Baker for the quarterbacks in the first 3+ quarters of the game to combine to go 25 of 36. The Cleveland Browns quarterbacks, to me, that is a testament to the job Todd Haley, Hugh Jackson, and the entire coaching staff had them ready to go for.
Judging by what you saw from Baker last night, do you feel like he closed the gap between him and Tyrod Taylor?
I think we.
And Baker Mayfield says, I own this night. He took the night over from both of those with the bar set that high. Did you see him flinch? Did you see him hesitate? I didn't see anything. I saw poise. I saw pocket presence. I saw him dazzle with both his arm and his legs because he was buying time in the pocket. Yeah. And early on, he faces a 3rd and 6, and he runs for it. And he faced a big 4th and 2 early on, and he ran for it. And I'm not saying he's even Johnny Manziel in quickness or speed, but he's got a little shiftiness to him. He can escape. I'm not saying he's not Tyrod. No. He's no Michael Vick, but he can beat you. He can irritate you with his legs as well as that whip of an arm. So you mentioned that play, 3rd and 18. Remember, this is backed up. You're 3rd and 18 off a holding penalty. It's early, pressure is on, and he drops back and he throws a strike to C.J. Board, undrafted. He's bounced around to 3 teams. I don't even know if he'll make their roster. And he threw it into the teeth of his own defense, and it was low because he aimed low. He wanted CJ just to be able to go down and snatch it because it's 21 yards. It's 3 yards beyond the marker. It's a strike. It's a low-called strike for a first down. It's a heck of a throw.
I'm just telling you what the offensive coordinator is going to say, Skip.
Right. Well,
is that right? It is.
Okay.
I mean,
this is your first NFL live action against a team that is spoiling to make you look bad because you are the first pick in the draft.
But let me ask you a question, Skip. Let's be real now. He's the first pick in the draft. Those guys, a lot of guys that he's playing against, they're not going to be in the NFL come week 1. So
the Giants still had a good number of first-teamers out there.
And I'm not trying to take anything, but let's temper this a little bit, Skip. I mean, he made some good throws. I'll give him credit. But he missed some throws also. If you go back and look, I understand you're a Baker Mayfield fan. I think we look at the game a little differently. We see things a little differently. I just didn't see anything that Tyrod did would make me think, you know what, next week we need to start Baker Mayfield. Right. I can see if he was
Tyrod did nothing wrong. Right. He's just not Baker Mayfield. It's as simple as that. In the long run, the future and the present is Baker Mayfield. And I told you before the draft, he is the most ready to play in the NFL. Not those other 3 high-pick quarterbacks. He is, because he started for not 1 or 2, but 3 big stage years at the University of Oklahoma and played in 2 playoff runs for the University of Oklahoma Sooners. He's ready for this. He's fearless. He's poised. He's just got that attitude, that chip, that walk-on chip on his shoulder where he's just not afraid of the moment. So let's get to second and 6 from the 10-yard line. This is early in that first long drive. And he sees Njoku, who's about his third read, I think, on the play, on the back line. And there are 3 Giants within reach of the football. And he hits Njoku on his trail shoulder. It wasn't a misfire. It wasn't a bad pass where he missed him behind. He threw it the only place he could thread it. And they talk about tighter windows in pro football. This was a tight window. And the ball got there with some mustard on it. And it hit Njoku right here, trail shoulder, the only place he could snatch it, and he did for a touchdown. That's a big-time pro football throw. I'm sorry, game over. It's just, that's it.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. If you look at, what's the guy's name? Chris Lewis-Harris. Now, where's he going? All he has to do is sink. Everybody else is covered. If he sinks and does like Barry Church, guess what? He gets the pick.
Okay, but Baker sees that.
No, he didn't, Skip. He didn't.
It and fires it.
Skip, if you look at Baker Mayfield's eyes, he never sees that third corner. He does not see him, Skip. He doesn't.
So
Baker Mayfield is good, but he's not Tom Brady.
What have I always told you about Baker Mayfield? He is the oxymoronic term careful gambler. I don't know how to explain this, but he is a careful. He is a careful risk taker. He tries throws where you say, ooh, again, I'm a big OU fan. I'm watching games where I'm like, oh, no, that's going to be intercepted. He threw 21 interceptions in 3 years. Okay. That's an average of 7 a year. He threw 119 touchdowns to 21 interceptions.
That's great.
Think about that. Last year, he was 43 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That's impossibly great. The last 2 years in college football, he led the nation in total QBR. You know, it's my favorite quarterback evaluation stat. He led the nation the last 2 years. He's efficient gambling. That's hard to be because sometimes you think he's
Skip, you putting too much emphasis on that touchdown. First of all, why would you throw it on the back shoulder when the safety is in a trail position? You give him an opportunity to come through and break the
window. It's the only window that opened. Okay. Look at it again.
I did.
I loved it. I did. I just said, that's it. Okay. That's why he's Baker Mayfield and Tyrod is not.
Yeah, we're not arguing that. He's the number 1 pick in the draft. He will play. I just don't think he should. I just didn't see enough last night. Now, who knows what's going to happen in week 3, what's going to happen in week 4, especially the third preseason game when everybody's scripting.